Hey everyone, it's me again. Back with another quick tip for you guys today. This one is for the home producers, the bedroom recording guys, the self-produced musicians. So this is something that is inherently confusing for most people when they're starting out producing their own music and they don't really know what's going on yet. You're hearing that increasing the stereo width in your mix is going to make you sound a lot better. So you get in there and you start adjusting that left to right balance knob, and you think that you're making the most awesome mix that you possibly can. And it turns out that it's still not exactly the right way to go, unfortunately. It's not really a big deal. You just have to be paying attention to which one you're using, if you're using balance panning or if you're using true stereo panning. Technically, balance is just balance. It's not necessarily panning in a true sense at all, but sometimes it's erroneously referred to as panning. But balance is balance, and they mean that quite literally. So it's when you take a mono sound that has two sides, and then you turn one of the sides, left or right, down in volume so the other side sounds louder. This can work good enough. This can give you kind of the illusion of panning, but in certain cases this isn't good, because if you have very different information on the left side or the right side of the sound, that is not getting transferred over when you move it more left or right. So if there's a sound on the left channel, it's just going to be turned down and you're not going to be able to hear it anymore if you turn that all the way to the right. So the solution to this is to just make sure that you're using true stereo panning methods. True stereo panning actually takes the audio information from the left channel and moves that information over towards and into the right channel. So rather than using balance, where you're going to completely eliminate anything on the left-hand side by turning the knob all the way to the right, panning is going to literally take the sound and move it around in the stereo field, which is exactly what you want for mixing and mastering and producing. The stereo width can also sort of be faked or imitated, and there's a couple ways that you can go about this. One way to do this is to add a short time delay, a very imperceptible time delay to the left or the right channel, or both in different degrees. And another way to go about this is kind of applying the same idea, just using pitch. So you put a pitch shifter that can shift in cents instead of semitones, and then you would just pitch shift the right side up by like 5 cents, and you'd pitch shift the left side down by like 5 cents. And it gives you this it's kind of like a natural chorus kind of sound. It gives you a very widened, fuller kind of effect. This is how a lot of stereo width effects work. I'm sure you've probably seen some plugins out there that boast their ability to increase the width of a sound, and this is usually how they're accomplishing that. You can also see this effect in action in a lot of people's vocal doubling kind of chain. I think that most everybody, at least in the pop and rock worlds for the last decade or couple decades, has used vocal doubling pretty widely. I'm going to make a bold claim and say that it's probably on most of the recordings you hear out there, at least commercial recordings. And there are kind of two ways that they do the vocal doubling. One is actually to record multiple takes of the vocalist and double those on top of each other, which I think is usually the best way to go. And there's the artificial double, where you take 2 copies of the vocal and you pan one hard left, pan one hard right, then you pitch shift each side like I just said before, up 5 cents on one side, down 5 cents on the other side, and that creates the artificial doubling effect. Anyway, there's a freebie for you for this time. I kind of digressed a little bit there. We're going to carry on. So that's great. Balance or true stereo panning, awesome, whatever. How do we actually apply this? How is this useful? So I recommend creating a lot of space and separation in your mix as much as possible. This means that anything that isn't holding down a lot of weight and presence in the track can be moved off to one side or another. So I would keep things like the drums, like the bass line, and maybe part of the main vocal in the center pan area. And anything else in the arrangement, I will choose to either make it all the way hard left or all the way hard right. An exception to this being maybe if there's like more of a sparse arrangement. Like if I'm just doing like a solo acoustic guitar based song with like one vocal line, then I'll probably keep stuff more panned towards the center. If I was recording like a band that has multiple guitarists, then I would probably just keep the bassist and the vocalist right in the center, and then both of the guitars, I would put rhythm guitar off to the left, lead guitar off to the right. There's certain cases there too where maybe if the lead guitar stops playing for a little bit, then you can automate the rhythm guitar back towards the center for the parts where it needs to fill out and sound a little bit girthier. And if you do end up with a bunch of elements panned into the center, then you can still have those sounds kind of make room for each other. That's really the most powerful move that you can do when mixing, is to take the sounds that are strong and present and adjust the instruments around that sound to make room for the part that is very present. So kind of the way that you go about this using an equalizer would be, say you have a bass guitar and a kick drum, right? So the kick drum is going to have some fundamental frequency where it has the loudest and strongest punch of the kick sound. You're probably going to find that somewhere around like 80 to 100 hertz. And then your bass guitar is also going to have its own certain punchy, good-sounding, sweet spot frequency range, right? So the idea here is to EQ the kick drum so it's cutting some of the bass guitar's strong frequency range out of the spectrum, and then you EQ the bass guitar so the kick drum's strong and punchy frequencies are EQ'd out of the bass line. And then, when you put these two sounds together, they should make room for each other, they should be clashing a lot less, they should be making less mud, and it should add more clarity to your mix. Okay, I gotta stop myself there, otherwise the video is going to run on too long. I know I try to make these quick tips, and then they always end up being like over 5 minutes, running on 10 minutes or longer, and that's never really my intention. I just guess I usually have more to say than I had originally planned at the start. Anyway, hope you all found that useful. I'm gonna get out of here and catch you guys on the next video. Hope you have fun out there.